to Monster Men. Ah! Arrgh.
We have buddies.
J-E-T-S.
Today's topic is The Walking Dead.
That's right.
Season 4 hiatus is upon us, boys.
Yeah. That's rough.
First of
I was
all,
so into it. I don't know what to do on Sundays now.
I know. Maybe I'll go to church at night.
Well, yeah, but I found a lot of those the forum sites. I've been spending a lot of time at night reading the Walking Dead forum sites.
Oh, sure, the Walking Dead forums. That's the kind of forums you're on.
Well, all right, among others.
All right,
Yeah.
so it's Jack here, Hunter, and Anthony.
Hello.
This is a first. This is our first remote interview Monster Men podcast ever.
Yes, our cutting edge of technology.
Oh yeah.
And at a not too steep price.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with the ending.
Okay.
We just had the big finale where the governor sieges. Oh, first of all, everybody, if you haven't seen The Walking Dead, there's going to be spoilers like crazy. This is for people who have watched the show and know what's going on. And also, we're going to allude to the comic books at some point. So you got to be ready to talk about all this stuff, or get out now.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So who wants to start first? Talk about what they thought of the
Anthony, you're our guest. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. One thing I'm glad about with the show, and I mean, this goes for the first 4 years. They kind of, they throw plot surprises at you and everything, but they kind of stay consistent. Like they don't show any, they don't show any unrealistic cast development. They don't show like zombies doing things or walkers doing things that they shouldn't. And it kind of stayed the same way with this. In other words, like for 2 episodes, you started thinking that the governor, I don't want to say got religion, but some kind of miraculous light shined upon him, and he became a moral man who wanted to start a family again. But as reality often does to you, it turns you back into the person that you were sort of intended to be. So the governor, in the end, became exactly what he was in season 3. A tyrant, a douchebag, a mini totalitarian who wants to take over his little piece of the world. So I'm glad that the show stayed consistent that way. And, you can see the same thing with Herschel and Rick. They, Rick basically, he started out a little crazy, or, season 3 became crazy at the end. You saw little tinges of that happen as well. Did you notice in this episode, like when the governor's attacking, instead of sort of like assuming the defensive position, Rick was kind of like, we have a council that decides these things.
How about this? How fortunate was he that everybody that was on the governor's side shoots as well as a stormtrooper in Star Wars?
Well, it's good to see people that don't have that marksman aim every time like Daryl.
Good.
Well, it seems like when they're shooting zombies, they can't miss. And when they shoot people, they can't hit.
And Rick's out in this open field forever with fire going back and forth, and he is like, well, he was hit. He was hit. But
him and the governor were both hit.
Yeah,
right,
that's true.
That's true. And the governor was hit pretty well.
Well, I'll tell you, that last episode, I think, is what everybody was hoping for as the season finale last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And my problem, I loved that episode, maybe the best episode of the show, because we got so much great action. We got moments from the comic book, maybe a little bit differently, but like everything that as the comic book fan and the TV show fan wants, you got, the climax with the governor and all that other stuff. But, the one problem I had with it was you had all the people from Woodbury killed by the governor last year.
Right.
And then he meets these new people, and it like basically has one pep talk with him where he's like, hey, there's these people down the street who are really bad, and I think we should go kill them. And they're all like,
okay.
All right.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they were kind of semi-militarized by the other guy that used to be with the governor, so maybe he kind of paved the way. He wasn't all right in the head either.
Yeah.
But,
and you had
I don't
Martinez.
know. The governor's redemption was the shortest-lived redemption in the history of redemption.
True.
Now, do you guys read Rise of the Governor?
No.
Yeah, so basically those couple of episodes was, there's some good source material from the Rise of the Governor book. Let's drag from that. Let's draw from that, and
I thought that book was boring though, so I thought those episodes were kind of boring. I was like, oh, yeah, I see where they're going.
I guess when you try to do on this show, if you try to do any kind of extended character development, like over a period of an episode, it becomes tough. I think especially catching up with him over his lost time, they were kind of forced into that.
What I was kind of hoping they were going to do with him is that he would be redeemed, right? So he's Paul on the road to Damascus, and he comes back, and he's a different man. And when he comes back, the bad people are Rick and his crew. That's where I hoped they were going to go. I was hoping that was the twist, but
I'm suspecting that the second half of the season may be that.
Right.
Because I see now, like, how the governor sort of, after he got poked in the eye, that's when the real governor came out. We thought we already had the real governor, then the real governor came out after the Michonne poke. I think now Rick got proverbially poked now, and maybe some of the others, and maybe they're going to start to...
I don't think Rick's going evil. I think Rick's just going to go back to being the leader.
That too.
Yeah, the benevolent dictator.
Yeah, no, he's going to go back to Rick, who makes decisions that you go, like in the comic book, when he does something, you're like, holy crap, what are you doing?
Now, guys, what was your favorite kill of the last episode?
Ah, boy. Well, obviously the Michonne chest shot there. She only gets an assist, though, because... see, at first I thought, when I first saw that scene, it looked like Maggie was walking out with the gun to finish off the governor, but it was actually Lily.
Lily and Maggie look a lot alike.
Yeah, which is a nice thing, but yeah. Boy. I would say that would have to be it. I mean, that was just, finally the finito, the climax of what Michonne had been trying to do for a whole off season. So that's it for me.
That was the most satisfying kill, but one of the most interesting, and as grizzled zombie fans, the three of us have seen it all. I love the zombie in the mud underneath the flash flood sign that gets the little girl.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah.
See, my favorite kill was when the little girl blew that zombie away and saved Tyrese.
Yes,
I was like, oh!
That's certainly a nice candidate.
When the governor got the sword through him, my wife and I both jumped. We cheered. Yes. She cheered just to see the governor get what's coming to him. I cheered because I'm sick of the governor. So I realized I never have to see him again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Finish him off.
This governor had some good moments, and he did a lot of bad things, but he never did the stuff that the governor in the comic book did. He never physically handicapped anybody. He never multiply raped anybody. The things that the governor did in the comic book, this governor did plenty of bad things, but I kept waiting for him to just be way more reprehensible. And it was almost like, the stuff he did to Merle might have been the worst stuff.
Yeah. They had to humanize him to make him more acceptable for a drama. Like comic books, you can get away with a lot. You're supposed to be over the top with comics. I could see where they wanted to scale it down a little bit and make him relatable in some way. Because it's a totally different medium. I don't know, though. I just... the whole time, the whole governor storyline, I just felt they spit the bit on it, unfortunately.
Well, they screwed him and Andrea up, really, all last season.
That became very annoying.
Weren't you glad to see her go?
Yeah, actually, in the long run, I was.
Exactly. Andrea and Dale were two of my favorite characters in the comic book.
Oh, yeah.
They bobbled both of those two.
Yeah.
And I didn't like him either. I thought he was so annoying. I was so glad when he died.
He was, to me, he was never the moral... I mean, Herschel was always the moral epicenter from, maybe the second episode that we met him. Dale was just kind of like a fairly decent guy to me.
He was whiny.
He was a whiny, but...
Very whiny.
Yeah.
So another great kill for me, though, was not necessarily just a kill, but Daryl's Legolas moment. In Helm's Deep in Two Towers, where Legolas goes down the stairs on the shield and shoots 10 orcs. Or in Return of the King, he jumps on top of the elephant, kills the whole elephant and everything, and slides down. Daryl had that moment where he takes out the tank, he's using a zombie as a human shield.
Yeah.
And then he blows up the tank with the grenade, and then he kills the guy driving the tank.
Yeah.
I was just like, God, is Daryl just the greatest character?
Yeah, in fact, he's the one to me, the one indispensable character. I could watch, him and Michonne. I could watch everyone else die and have no problems.
I agree.
I might bail from the show if they kill either of them.
Oh,
they're screwed if they ever do that.
Oh, they could repopulate the Earth with spawn that could take out fucking Kim Il Sung if they wanted to. Kim Jong-il. I lose track of my dictators, but
I'm gonna miss Herschel. The guy's got a knack for spouting out hot daughters.
Yeah, he does.
Yes,
including the 16-year-old Jack.
I know every one of my friends is googling those too. Googling, particularly Maggie.
I wonder if he went up to the producer and said, "Look, you can kill me if you want. It's way too hot on this set, and I am too old to be running around doing this stuff. So feel free. You can do whatever you want to me."
Yeah, take out the other leg if you want. Just have me hobble around like that guy on the subway.
Well, he walked awful well this season.
A little too well, yeah.
It was like
there's supposed to be a learning curve when you get a prosthetic leg. I mean, even the best.
there was a gap there that we didn't see.
Oh, all right. So the plunger and mop handle they had in place for his leg must have set it in real nice.
Now, do you? Let's talk about Carol for a couple of seconds, because we had this awesome thing where Carol took responsibility for killing those infected people. Rick and her go out on a mission, and Rick tells her, "You're not coming back." Then he comes back, and you're waiting to see if Daryl's going to kick his ass. If he brings Carol back, Tyrese is going to kill Carol. If he doesn't, Daryl might kill Rick. And then you're waiting for that, and all of a sudden they go for 2 episodes with the governor. You get back, and Rick is telling Daryl. Daryl's pissed off, but, instead of kicking Rick's ass, he goes, "Let's go tell Tyrese right now." They find this dissected rat or something.
Right.
And they're like, it couldn't have been the same person. I know what's going on thanks to the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
But number one question for you is, do you think Carol really killed those people? And who do you think was feeding the walkers, those rats, through the fence?
She answered a little too quickly when Rick confronted her with it. There's usually, like you'd expect, sort of a little walking around and sighing, but she was just like, yes. I think I think it's very likely that she might be covering up for one of the 2 girls. But again, when they're out on the road and doing their supply run with the dead hippies there, it's kind of like when Rick tries to banish her, do you kind of confess at that moment, like, "Hey, Rick, it wasn't me, it was the girls." So you have a little case for either. So if I had to bet, I'd say 50-50 that Carol or Mika/Lizzie killed the 2. I think a possibility is that the girls might have killed the 2, and then Carol dragged out the bodies and burned them, thinking, all right, well, they're dead anyway, let's just try to eliminate the disease factor here. So it might be a combo effort. See,
I thought one of the girls was feeding the zombies, the rats. But I do think that Carol killed those two people. I think she'd become like this person who had to be the caretaker for the entire group, and she's gonna do whatever she has to do.
Right.
And now she's off making Activia commercials. I'm sure she's Jamie Lee Curtis's stand-in.
So stunt double for the yogurt commercial.
Exactly. But she's a fascinating character. I'm wondering where she's gonna pop up and what she's gonna be like.
Everybody was thinking she'd pop up with the governor. I found that to be unlikely. It would be too chancy and coincidental. I think somewhere in the second half you're gonna see her with another group, possibly that.
Spoiler alert is they've cast Abraham and the dude with the mullet.
Yeah.
Rosita and Eugene.
And what's her name? Rosita or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to be popping up, so she could be with them. I would love to see Tyrese find Carol, because he never found out that she took credit for killing those people. So if she did kill them, and then Tyrese finds her, and they're getting along great, and then Rick, they find Rick eventually, and Rick's like, "Oh, did you tell her? Or did you tell him?" And then Tyrese with the hammer time, bitch.
It's about time they made him a man, boy. He was such a whip from last year up until halfway through this year. It took that hammer to get him going, man.
I don't think Carol killed them, but you're right. Who the heck knows? But I definitely think the little girls are the ones who were feeding the zombies through the fence with the rats, and they think they're the ones who dissected. And I think there's something that happened in the comic books that one of these kids is going to do.
Okay. See, I haven't gotten up to that point, so I have to.
Okay, well,
That could be true, man.
I'm looking forward to, because if you saw the scenes for the next episode, it's the whole Rick is sick and like passed out, and Carl's on his own. If you remember that from the comics, that was a good couple of.
I did a little jumping ahead, so yeah, I did actually.
You're way behind in the comics if you haven't read.
Yeah,
that.
really.
Like I said, I purposely stopped reading the comics, but I may actually resume again. So
Carl is the scariest kid in that entire universe.
Yeah.
That kid is a freak on a leash, and he's really small. Remember when we saw him, Jack?
They were
Saying
worried that he was not going that he was going to grow up too fast for the show. Teenage puberty syndrome. It's actually worked out very well. He's grown up too fast in the zombie apocalypse world.
But you know what? Physically, he's still small. I don't even think he has a pubic hair. I mean, the kid is smooth and tiny. So
I have a feeling Beth is going to let us know by the end of this or next season. So
Now, here's the other big question: do you think Judith, the baby, is alive or dead?
Alive.
yeah, I would say alive. It would be too anticlimactic to sort of kill her off without kind of any trackable occurrences, of it. Just to have her disappear, I can't see that.
The reason I think she's alive is because unless you see somebody die on a TV show, usually they're not dead. However, in a baby's case, if they don't want to show an actual baby dying, that would be the way to get her off the show and just have it, to show the bloody car seat.
See, I don't think they have the guts to kill a baby.
I agree. Rape, nailing testicles to a board, that you can't do on AMC. Gouging heads and arteries and critical veins, that you can do.
Exactly.
Rape and baby killing, that's touchy for any network.
It ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I think a possibility with the baby is Rick and Carl in the depths of despair, wandering around. Maybe they haven't met the other group. And then when a jolt of hope or happiness is needed, maybe Beth and the group show up with the baby intact. I don't know. Because you need some form of happiness for the second half.
The one thing I've always thought about the comic book and the show, why don't they just go north where it gets cold and maybe there's a winter and these things can't walk around so well? Go somewhere where the elements are really going to wreak havoc on flesh.
Right. Isn't that the premise of the book, World War Z book? They ended up going north, I guess, to...
Oh, God, I don't even remember that stupid book.
Yeah.
All I remember is the battle outside my house.
Right.
That's it. And Brad Pitt being like Daffy Duck, crashing and all kinds of stuff and walking, what's uppies?
The thing is, especially Rick being a cop and the fact that they were at the prison for so long, is they would know the general area. I know, even if I don't know my way around certain streets, in towns 2, 3, 4 towns over, I still know generally, if I'm in Stamford or I'm in Yonkers or I'm in Shelton,
Right.
I know the general. So if I was there and they kicked me out of the prison, I think I'd be like, okay, well, we can get to this church tonight and stay there, and we could get to this baseball stadium and it's got a fence around it. Like, you'd think you'd be able to get yourself some shelter, that we don't necessarily need the prison to fortify ourselves.
Right.
It sounded hard to believe that Rick wouldn't have known the location of what is apparently a major state prison, like when they first founded it. That was kind of funny.
So, Ann, why don't you tell people about what you're doing with The Walking Dead? You're running commentary on The Walking Dead.
Okay, well, last year I actually had a running commentary in form of an article. What I'd like to start doing in the second half of this year is I may actually start to do a little video commentary because I'm discovering it's a lot easier. I could just talk and not have to edit anything until later on, of course, and could use visual aids, kind of like this How Dangerous is a Zombie thing and all that. But what I actually what I actually did, what was it, back in May, is I took a little trip to Walking Dead country.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
That's really cool, man.
Yes, and I took some videos and photos. Jack had the kindness to edit a series of the videos for me.
I'm going to put the videos at the end of this, so stay tuned, and you'll see Anthony going from some different locations. Why don't you tell us now a little bit about that trip, and then that'll lead us into that video.
All right, well, I was on one of my famous baseball trips, this time to get Turner Field in Atlanta, before they tear it down in 3 years. And I figured I would actually go to see my sister in Tampa at the same time, and then I realized that Walking Dead territory is right in the middle of those two. Sonoya is basically Woodbury. That's the centerpiece of the Walking Dead universe, and it's about, yeah, Sonoya, Grantville, Harrelson, that whole area, about an hour south of Atlanta. So I said, let me do this. What the heck? So I started just going around to the different sites, taking photos. Then I realized that video would be a lot better, and I was starting to lose the sunlight. So I said, let me get back to Sonoya, take a video. Let me get to Harrelson, which is the location of the showdown barn meeting between Rick and the governor.
Right.
And then I got over to another town called Noonan, which is where the famous, where Merle and Daryl actually rescue the Mexican family. I think they're the only Mexican family in Georgia, but
Noonan.
Sorry, but they rescue them. They call it Yellow Jacket Creek, but it's actually Lime Creek. You know, they changed names for this. And then, regrettably, the two places I could not get into were Herschel's Farm, which seems to be sort of guarded pretty well, and very hard to sort of get a panoramic photo of it from anywhere. And also the prison, which is actually, I guess it's called Raleigh Studios. It's basically the back of a studio set adjacent to these railroad tracks. So if you're brave enough, you can walk 1.5 miles on through heavy woods on the railroad tracks from Sonoya, Woodbury, down to the studio. And if you make it, you'll have the fortune of being able to look at the back of where the prison set is. I chose. I would try it next time.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you keep walking down the railroad tracks, you'll eventually find the dead body from Stand By Me.
Yeah, right. And possibly some holdovers from the Atlanta Mafia as well.
Lollipop.
That body is now River Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. But I have to say one thing about all these areas. Like, I also, a few months ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I saw 2 locations for the American Horror Story houses. The Season 1 house and the Season 2. And obviously they look the same, but you could tell that there's a lot of things they have to do to sort of make it TV ready, like the asylum is like right in the middle of a downtown area, so they have to do a lot of green screening and change foliage and make it look great. There is very little these are the perfect filming areas for Walking Dead. There's little or nothing you have to do. I mean, when you imagine that barn being in the middle of nowhere, it is in the middle of nowhere. Sonoya, you're thinking, oh, it's like a main street that's easy to block off. It is a main street that's easy to block off on all the side streets. The filming areas are perfectly congruent to what they portray on screen.
Is it as hot and sweaty down there as it looks?
Yes, I was down there in May, and like midday was a little tough to deal with. I imagine if I went in July, it would be very difficult to.
That would be some stinky zombies.
That's like whenever on that show people have sex, I'm always like, oh god, when they take their pants off, the stink lines must just go. Must be
yeah, I mean, Andrea looked a little too groomed for her sessions with the governor there. I'd still do it, but
Woodbury had showers.
That's true, yes, and that was like the first shower since Season 1 when Rick found Morgan and Dwayne, the police barracks shower, right?
Right.
Yeah, but the filming locations are ideal, easy to close off the roads, so the perfect setting for everything. And apparently apparently in Atlanta there's like a whole sort of like they're like a mini Vancouver down there. There's casting companies, studios, location outlets for filming, and apparently this place Sonoya has been this. Actually, 2 other famous movies were filmed in Sonoya, which doubles as Woodbury. One was Fried Green Tomatoes.
My favorite.
Yep, they actually filmed the house was right down the street from the governor's house in Woodbury. Right. And the other was Driving Miss Daisy.
Oh, Very genteel movies.
That's right. I'm right out of the South, so.
You know, Jessica Tandy still did another movie after that where she did Full Frontal.
Ooh.
That's scarier than any zombie.
Was that
Put that up against Kathy Bates and About Schmidt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised Kathy Bates in American Horror Story being in that box for 180 years didn't, like, drop any pounds. Interesting.
I just did a blog post. It's on the Monster Man blog and on my blog of what to do while The Walking Dead is on hiatus.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Hunter, this is nothing new to you, but basically I said there's a lot of people who are watching The Walking Dead who never watched zombie stuff before, and it's funny listening to them talk. If they have a conversation like we have, so much stuff to them is new that we're like, yeah, that's Zombie 101. So I went through and I recommended, like, go back and watch Dawn of the Dead. Go back and watch both Dawn of the Dead, both Night of the Living Deads. Watch Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
Get and see where this genre, all this stuff that you think, like all these zombie shooter games, go and thank Dawn of the Dead and their SWAT guys for, and see where it all came from.
Right.
That is true, man.
Yeah, and it's funny. I kind of held this up before, but I don't know if you've seen this. This is the how dangerous is the zombie threat chart. And when you go through all of the movies that Jack just mentioned, like you can sort of, you can gradate the zombies between dumb and smart and slow and fast. And it's kind of funny. Like I actually added my own entries for The Walking Dead. Basically, The Walking Dead zombies are slow and dumb.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas the World War Z zombies are relatively smart and very fast. Kind of like
fast and good climbers.
Yeah, and good climbers too.
Like tree monkeys.
Organized as fuck.
Return of the Living Dead zombies then would be like the fastest, smartest ones.
Yes, yes, they are.
Send more paramedic.
And
because
of
they
course,
can talk.
28 days later, yeah. Well, that's one thing good about Walking Dead. They haven't, like, I remember one of my friends came up to me and said, you know, it would be good, like, if they had, like, Rick and company encounter, like, a zombie that hadn't quite turned yet, like, maybe, like, they're about to kill him, and he says something like, no, please help me, or something.
That would be cool.
That would be interesting, because I remember, like, there was an episode of The Incredible Hulk where he didn't quite change completely to the Hulk. Bill Bixby was caught in the middle of the transfer. That would be... It would be very interesting. It would actually be a very interesting episode, but it would also kind of ruin the consistency of the show. Yeah. You know, like that would almost add like a sort of a pseudo supernatural element to it, and maybe, well, not that it isn't already, but it's very consistent. I have to say.
I'm writing to AMC right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But well, another thing about the tour I took, one of the best place that I found of all the sites, obviously Woodbury/Sonoy was nice, but Grantville was a very interesting place. That is where Rick encountered Morgan in season 3 and shot him off the roof and followed him to his little hideaway with all the weapons and the crazy writings. The mayor of that town actually does a tour Thursday through Saturday, or 4 days a week basically, every night at 6 p.m., and I got there a little too late. But the mayor does a tour for like $10, and then you eat afterwards, and he's making the most of it. And this little,
he's going to make every penny he can while he can, right?
Yeah, and he actually got permission from the studios to restore that room to the way it looked when Morgan was in there, with all the writings in place and fake weapons, I guess. But I wish I kind of had gotten there in time for that tour, but I took you'll see one of the films that Jack had helped me edit there was Grantville, and it's definitely a creepy little town. I was more scared of the kids on skateboards when I drove through than actual walkers. But.
Leave me alone, skater boys!
It's like the kids from Dogma with the skaters.
Oh, yeah. Another movie I like, yes. And the little, I guess that's also the location of the restaurant that I guess Michonne and Carl go to retrieve family photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that restaurant is actually literally like a block away. They make it look like they walked further, but it's only a block away from Morgan's lair. And it's right next to the railroad tracks. And it's actually it's like a VFW building that they only use like 4 times a year. So I guess they had plenty of time to film in it.
Right. Huh, interesting.
Yeah, quite a town.
Lucky you.
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's a good lead-in. I'm going to tack on your clip to the end of this, so everybody stay tuned for that. And Hunter, Anthony, thank you for this wrap up. And next season when it starts up, if you want to have guests on your video, now we know how to do this. We can join you.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sign up for this too. And I have some, well, I won't announce it on your show, but I bought a web domain, so I'm going to start doing more of this stuff as well.
All right, well, we'll keep everybody posted on Monster Men for...
yes, we finally figured out something 10-year-olds can do. Yay!
Well, that's good. We'll wrap it up here. And everybody, we'll see you next time on...
Monster Men!
And... oh, yeah. Okay, this is a rather nondescript road, it would appear, but right about here is, on Walking Dead, of course, where the governor has his meltdown and shoots and kills all his people, except for Martinez and the other guy. So, even the most mundane roads in Georgia have a purpose in Walking Dead. Okay, well, I already got photos of this, but I decided to come back and do a drive-through. We're going to do a drive-through of Sonoya. It's not going to be the best because I'm doing it from the car, but here we go. Okay, this is where we were earlier. Right here is where the wall normally is. A very famous wall. There's the gazebo. Okay, now we're driving through Woodbury. Okay, in case I didn't say it before. This is Woodbury. There's the governor's... I missed it. Well, anyway, this is the rest of Woodbury. There's the famous water tower in the distance. Okay, and if you look down this road here, I have pictures of it from earlier. That is where Tyrese takes target practice. We're approaching the other end of Woodbury, I guess, which you never see. That's their city hall. It's a lovely church here. And that's about the end of it. Beautiful town, whether they're filming Walking Dead here or not. Okay. You're now at the bridge, famous bridge where Daryl and Merle rescue the family from the zombies. The walkers, pardon me.
You have arrived.
Yes, I have arrived. Okay. A lot of nature here, but see all the graffiti for effect. And there's the river that they climb out of. Or maybe it was this side, I don't know. But once again, it's pretty cool on-location stuff here. I'm glad it's not dark, because this would be a very scary place after dark. Okay, a little on-site here for everybody. We're in Harrelson, Georgia. And right there is where the governor meets Rick. The barn. There's another barn in the back. And the site says no trespassing. And this guy's hollowed out. It's quite a nice little area. But I'm gonna get out of here. Okay, this is gonna be the last stop on the Walking Dead tour, but this is a lovely place known as Grantville, Georgia. What you're looking at right there is the building at which Rick confronted the insane Morgan and dropped him, I guess, and then discovered who he was and all that stuff.
this right here, this is the building which, I'm going to walk up on it now, Carl and Michonne went into the restaurant to retrieve the drawing, the photograph of Rick, Lori, and Carl when it was happier times. I guess it's kind of closed now. Apparently the building is used like a couple of times a year for events, and that's it. There's the Historic Society. There's the ever-present single railroad line. And, I'd still say it's pretty cool. Reporting live.
Grr, arg.